Hey, Gavin.
Hey, Louie.
You're looking fine, fresh, fierce, bikinis on top tonight, Gavin.
You've already started that way recently.
Recently?
This is not a time travel episode. We can't do that.
Oh, fuck. Oh, wait. Okay, put a fucking pin in that time travel episode. We do need to do that. That's the genre that we do need to do, listeners.
Maybe it'll come up in the future. Maybe it'll come up in the past. Who can ever be sure?
But also, I'm feeling fine, fresh, fierce, bikinis on top because it is fucking hot today in New York.
I only look good because I'm sweating profusely, and it's giving me an earthly, dewy look.
Love that. Love that. And I'm not complaining. I am very happy that spring has finally sprung. And
we don't have spring anymore. What is this? Spring has sprung.
True.
It's summer. It's just summer in New York City.
I saw someone post, like, we went from puffer coats to crop tops overnight.
I was wearing both.
Just a crop puffer.
Yes.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. This is The Mixed Reviews.
We're a film podcast where we take a film subject such as an actor, director, or a mini-genre. We take 2 weeks. We watch as much as we can. We give you a full history, and we tell you what we like and what we don't like.
We mix up those reviews. And today we are so excited. We are not alone. We have the wonderful, the talented Bryan Sudfield.
Hi, guys. I'm very excited to be here today.
We're excited to have you.
Absolutely. We are going to get into why you are here and what you have brought for us on this episode. But first, we have some old business to take care of. First of all, our last episode, which it feels like we just did because we had a truncated time period when we did that one. We talked about the luminous Goldie Hawn.
Oh my goodness.
Icon, legend, star. And we asked you guys to go online and vote for your favorite Goldie Hawn performance. And here are the results. Cactus Flower, her fucking Oscar, came in last place with 2%. Private Benjamin, which was Gavin's pick, came in third place with 17%. First Wives Club in second place with 25%. And my pick, Death Becomes Her, just stomping the competition with 56%. I don't know if I was surprised or not in that. I mean, like, Death Becomes Her is just that girl.
Yeah, it's classic. And I don't think I was surprised either. I thought Private Benjamin would maybe do a little bit better, but, you know, I mean, it's got its flaws.
But also, I mean, like, the 90s girlies and in our audience are very strong. And I feel like both First Wives Club and Death Becomes Her just can't be beat. Bryan, how are you feeling about Goldie Hawn? Do you have a favorite?
Ooh, that's tough. Honestly,
we have an entire episode if you want to listen.
Honestly, I'm gonna have to say Shampoo is probably my favorite.
Wow.
I'm gonna have to say that. That's solid. One of the few ones that I've seen from her. I will admit that I've been slacking on the Goldie Hawn filmography.
No, but Shampoo is a good choice. We talked about that a lot in our Warren Beatty episode.
It's so good. It's so good.
And solid.
She, after... And we talked a little bit about this in the episode, so I don't want to relitigate it. But after she sort of took control of her own career, she started playing less complicated women than she was prior. And I think Shampoo is a like high mark in terms of complicated adult roles. Oh yeah, so good. Other piece of old business. It is the middle of May Madness. Gavin, the girls have been fighting on Twitter. They have.
Voting who is going to be our first subject for the month of June. Deborah Winger put up a very strong fight against Susan Sarandon.
She's already out, though. Shocking.
I know. The Susan Sarandonians came out.
I sent you a text with the screenshot where they were 50-50 against each other because, first of all, I have no backup plan. So if one of these gets 50-50, I don't know what's going to happen. But also, just I could tell it was like a stop the clock moment for you.
Yeah. I was like, if you're in line, keep waiting. This is the way that Deborah Winger can still win. Wait, so Gavin, who is out, who has made it to the next round? What's the status?
So far, Ellen Burstyn and Deborah Winger are out of the game, but we have Vivica A. Fox and Susan Sarandon moving on to the next round. And we still got 2 other rounds before getting even to decide
the semifinals.
Heat. Yeah. So there is Liz Taylor versus Debbie Reynolds and Penelope Cruz versus Pam Grier.
Yeah. It's so crazy. Like, Ellen Burstyn and Deborah Winger are such like incredible actresses that the caliber of the women we have up for the vote, like strong acts like them are getting the chop right off the block. So keep on voting, keep an eye out on our Twitter, and you can help pick us the first subject we're covering in June. So, awesome.
But do remember that the final comes down to our Patreon patrons. So if you want to vote in the final heat, you do have to join our Patreon.
Or if you would like just to get a girly to the finals, that's fine too. And that could be the prize for you. I got her a strong second place.
You know what, Louis? Am I the only one advertising here?
Listen, I want to encourage people to engage as much as they can and don't feel bad about it.
Exactly.
But okay, thank you, Goldie Hawn. Thank you, May Madness. We will see you again. Bryan, tell us and tell the lovely audience why we are here on this good day.
We're talking about Adam Driver, which I'm so amped to talk about. Oh my God. I cannot wait to gush about this man and his filmography. I am so excited to do this.
I can't wait to gush about him in his Burberry Hero cologne campaign. All I want to do is stare at Adam Driver half naked on a horse in the ocean. Just kidding. He has actually, in fact, made some movies. What is your fascination with this man? You told me that he's your favorite working actor right now. What's that about?
Yeah, I love how Adam Driver is so versatile with his craft. I love how he doesn't stick to just one specific genre of film. And I love that in his pretty short time as an actor, he's worked with so many of the most celebrated filmmakers in the business today. I mean, the fact that you list all these filmmakers that he's worked with, it's crazy. Scorsese, Spielberg, J.J. Abrams, Noah Baumbach, so many, the Jim Jarmusch, the Soderbergh, the list goes on. And I mean, he's about to work with Francis Ford Coppola. It's crazy the list of work that he's done in such a short period of time. And also, he just seems like a very genuine, down-to-earth dude that's very chill and laid back. And as someone who has seen him in person, he definitely comes off that way. Although, as much as I love him as an actor, he's not very good with the press. He's not very good at hiding the fact that he hates doing publicity. When I went to the NIF showing of White Noise, he looked like he did not want to be there, and he did not do a good job at hiding that. So Adam,
just miserable.
Oh, he looked so miserable, and I'm like, oh, Adam, I'm so sorry, bud, but come on, add some spunk to it. Just pretend for us. This is why we pay you money. Like,
as somebody who edited all those talkbacks, I could definitely, he was there. He certainly was there. But yeah, I mean, I kind of like that he's bad with the press. I kind of like that. I mean, he's
a bad boy.
He's a bad boy. He's a very singular person. I also, I'm 6 foot, but he's 6'2", and I swear to God, it feels like he's 8 foot.
Yeah.
Like he's 8 foot, all limbs.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I like that he has this kind of, I don't think it's like what's the word I'm looking for? It's not a combative personality when it comes to the press, but it is a sort of standoffish, like, I think
he's just like supremely uncomfortable.
Yeah. Like, I came here to act like you don't need to hear about my personal life. And
right. But it's funny though, because he does, I think, when he does do interviews, I do think he's like very off the cuff, like telling random stories. So I just think he like clearly is like, media training. No, I don't want to. What's that? But okay, great. Why don't we then just get into it and get into our rewind? For me, it felt like Adam Driver just like appeared one day on HBO, like fully formed, and I was like, who is this ugly hot guy? Like, he's like, he is the perfect encapsulation of also like that era of fucking Brooklyn hipster nonsense. Like, if you could bottle 2007 Bushwick, like it would be Adam Driver. Like, it's like, oh, hi, Adam Driver. But I digress. Adam Douglas Driver was born November 19th, 1983. He actually once was a bebe.
Yeah. He is literally 1 year and like 8 days old. I mean, 1 month and 8 days older than me. That's it.
56 years old. It's crazy, Gavin.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I'm like, look at all the things I've accomplished. Why can't he just work a little harder?
That happens to me when I watch fucking Top Chef Kids, okay? So, like, he's actually 39 years old, everyone. He was born in California, but most of his life is not spent there. By the time he's around 7, his parents split up and he moves to Indiana, where his mom's from, and I think it's like close to Indiana, the southern border of Indiana. And his dad, meanwhile, moves to Arkansas, where I believe he says he still lives and works today.
A choice.
But so he grows up with his mom and stepdad in Indiana. His stepdad is a minister at a Baptist church, which, holy boy, I bet that was all sorts of crazy kooky nonsense.
That sounds super fun, super liberating, very just unwatchful.
Imagine you like are born, spend like the first, handful of years of your life in California, and you're like, wow, what a life. And then it's like, surprise, son, you're 7 years old and we're moving to Indiana and your new dad is a Baptist minister.
Exactly.
He told M Magazine that his teenage self was kind of a misfit.
Yeah.
He was very much like kind of an arsonist, just lighting shit on fire. He co-founded a fight club.
Yes. Yes.
Which is just like very boys being boys, but like times a billion vibes to me.
It's funny. I heard him talk about it and he was like, well, it wasn't like surprise attacks. You were invited to the club. And I was still like, I don't know if that makes it better.
Well, there is honor in Fight Club, Gavin. Okay. Yeah. There is no honor in just being a random surprise bully.
Also, like, aren't you not supposed to talk about that? Really, it's the first rule. It's the first two rules.
I know. The Mishawaka, Indiana Fight Club is no more because clearly Adam can't keep his fucking mouth shut.
Yeah, no, I really liked that movie and thought that was a good idea. We're also like, you're fucking bored in Indiana, like a small town. There's not really much to do. There's not like it's not necessarily like a cultural haven. So you're kind of making shit up as you go along. And that seemed like a good idea, just to fight your friends.
He starts doing a little bit of high school plays. He likes it very much. He's in, I think, Fiddler on the Roof and Old Lace in high school.
Arsenic and Old Lace. No, he is just the dinosaur Old Lace from The Runaways.
I've been rereading Runaways.
I follow your Twitter.
Thank you, Gavin. Thank you, Gavin. Someone has to. He likes it, and he thinks he wants to, be an actor. And in a classic small town kid fashion, he's like, I've heard of Juilliard. I hear that's a good school for acting. Maybe I'll just apply there. And Juilliard's like, LOL, what, girl? Like, no. Crazy. So he does not get in, and for a little while, he's just kind of like aimless, living in this small town in Indiana, doing telemarketing, selling vacuum cleaners, door to door. And it's around this time he says he can't remember exactly what happens first, whether 9/11 happened first, or he tried to move to LA to be an actor. He like gets in the car, packs some shit, I think makes it like a little bit past El Paso, and the car breaks down. He is like, LOL, I have X dollars to just try and like live in LA, and now it's all being spent on fixing up this piece of shit car. Fixes the car, gets to LA, is there for 2 days, and is like, well, I have no more money. I guess it's time to go home. And so he fully just like turns back around, and that's like the first false start of his acting career, because he didn't know anybody. He was just like kind of he thought you'd show up and I don't know, it was a fucking Glee episode where you twirl around and like someone discovers you.
It's funny because I heard him talk about how he did the like classic small town. Like he said he had a girlfriend, he broke up with her.
I had like a girlfriend who were very, I don't know why I put that in air quotes. We're very, we're serious and we're going to get married.
Which was embarrassing because I made a big production about saying goodbye to everybody in Indiana. I'm like, goodbye, girlfriend. Who knows when we'll see each other again. And then I was back like a week later.
9/11 happens, and he decides to enlist in the Marine Corps. I think he says in a story, like, his stepfather mentions, like, maybe you should join. He's like, yeah, right.
Yeah.
And then he was like, well, maybe I should. And so he enlists, he goes to training, and he says it's like a really foundational, helpful moment in his life where he actually enjoyed all the discipline and it really bonded with all these people in his troop. He never was deployed,
right?
But he did serve 2 years, and eventually is discharged because he has an accident where on a motorbike, he says his sternum was crushed in an accident with the handlebars, and he said he was devastated. He said, he really wanted to go with his battalion.
Yeah, that's a hard thing. That's something as somebody who, knowing who I am, I can't, I will never have that experience. I had, as I mentioned, I'm of the same age, and I've had people I know who did get deployed and who died, and I've never been like a rah, let's go kill other people. And so I find this, and this is just me speaking, I don't want to speak for anybody else, but this is, this is a hard part of his personality that I have trouble wrapping my mind around, just because I totally understand him. He even did a TED Talk. I listened to the entire TED Talk. It talked about how it turned his life around, and I totally get that, and I get how it can be foundational, how it can create a bond, create like a family and everything. But the idea that he's still sort of longing for the fact that he never got to deploy with his friends,
right?
Is,
I mean, it's, to me, it sounds like he's less like, oh man, I didn't get to go do war, and more like,
that's a good way of putting it.
Oh man, I didn't get to complete this journey with these people who went through all this hardship with me.
I joined the Marine Corps and I loved it. I love being a Marine. It's one of the things I'm most proud of having done in my life. Firing weapons was cool. Driving and detonating expensive things was great. But I found I loved the Marine Corps the most for the thing I was looking for the least when I joined, which was the people. These weird dudes, a motley crew of characters from a cross-section of the United States that on the surface I had nothing in common with. And over time, all the political and personal bravado that led me to the military dissolved. And for me, the Marine Corps became synonymous with my friends. And then a few years into my service and months away from deploying to Iraq, I dislocated my sternum in a mountain biking accident and had to be medically separated. And for those who are never in the military, may find this hard to understand, but then being told I wasn't going to deploy to Iraq or Afghanistan was very devastating for me.
And that I understand, and that I get. And he's talked about how, like, it's, when you go make a movie and it's a very sort of similar thing. It's a very different thing, but it's a similar thing where you're with a group of people and you have a very limited amount of time. They sort of become, ingratiated with you, like a family sort of thing. But I am very...
well, to be clear, the mixed reviews does not support fucking war.
Yeah. Okay.
So
I the only reason I said I'm speaking for myself and not for anybody else is I just don't, if you're gonna send hate mail, send it to me. I don't care. But
no. I mean, like, I think it's, similar to you. Like, I'll never fucking know what it's like to be part of the military. Like, Brian, have you been a part of the military?
I have not.
All right. So, like, we'll never, know what that's like. For a lot of people, that's their only way out of, like, their circumstance in life. And so, like, that's fucking shitty, but it is what it is. And yeah, he gets medically discharged with the rank of Lance Corporal. And because of the GI Bill, he's able to afford to go to college. And so in a very weird, serendipitous, fucking roundabout way, like, his service, though limited, was able to get him back on the path that he wanted to do. And
Right.
he says, as soon as he was discharged and, he was having a really hard time, it made him realize, like, there is only one thing I want to fucking do, and that is act. And so he enrolls at the University of Indianapolis, because he says that the window, he's still laser focused on getting into fucking Juilliard.
Yes.
He had missed.
I mean, if you listen to him talk, like it was all of his heroes. It was like Robin Williams, and which is so funny because I cannot think of two diametrically opposed actors. Which is not to say Adam Driver can do comedy. Great, it's not a Robin Williams comedy.
Right.
Robin Williams could do drama. It's not Adam Driver drama.
Right.
Like, I knew like Robin Williams and like Kevin Kline and all these great theater actors went there. So I kind of like that was like the bar, I guess. I didn't know how hard it was or how unrealistic that goal seemed. But.
He's at the University of Indianapolis, just kind of biding his time until the audition process opens up for Juilliard. He's doing shows there as well. Finally comes around to do auditions, fucking nails it, gets in. So if you're listening out there and you want to get into Juilliard, literally all you have to do is join the military. It's so crazy how that works, guys.
And get medically discharged.
Yeah. I mean, and that's life experience, okay?
It's a very simple path.
Yeah, and so he literally gets like the word that he's been accepted into Juilliard while he's working at fucking Target.
Yeah.
Dreams happen, babes, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So he goes to Juilliard and is immediately, he talks about how his life has changed. He's so used to this small town life, really had never been to New York, experienced a lot of culture. Juilliard is, if for folks who don't know, is literally in the middle of like the culture center of the city.
Yeah,
there's the ballet, the opera, like
it's in Lincoln Center. Yeah,
right. So it's in where West Side Story takes place. Okay, guys. And so, and he talks about just how Juilliard really again was formative to him, and he had no formal training before then. He was just going off of his life experience. But so he does work there in Juilliard and graduates at the like senior showcase, catches the eye of a couple agent characters who are like, ooh, a tall straight guy in theater? Have I got some shows for you?
All of them. Every show.
Literally all of them. He's, doing the classic thing, doing a little busboy waitering things, but he kind of quickly is starting to book shows. So he's doing a lot of off-Broadway work, including Angels in America. He says it's his favorite play, and
That's crazy to me. Like that, I mean, good. It should
Yeah.
be. It's an amazing piece of theater.
Yeah.
But it just, once again, Adam Driver is unknowable.
truly unknowable. His first fucking movie is directed by Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
And he's in J. Edgar.
Real quick, and this is just a small sidebar. He gets his SAG card for being in an episode of The Unusuals, which was a 1-season show starring Amber Tamblyn and Jeremy Renner.
Casual.
And he was like a suspect. I don't remember if he was the killer or not. I've not seen the show since it came out. But I was like, oh, like when we started researching him, I was like, I saw him on TV once, and I was like, oh, shit, that was his SAG show.
Can I just pay for my parking tickets and go home?
This isn't about parking tickets, and you know it. How much is your trust fund worth? It's like 10 million or 15 million? I mean, that is a lot of X-Lax. That's what I call it. I call my trust fund X-Lax. Just makes everything smooth and easy to deal with. But that's why I don't use it. It's hard to be a real person when you have so much money, huh?
I'm not even sure what that is. Real person.
It's very telling that like of where his career is going immediately, because he's like you mentioned up top, Brian, like he's already first movie working with these just like really big names. I've never seen J. Edgar. I've heard it's a fucking mess. So
It's so dull. It's so boring. Easily a snooze. If you want to find a movie that you could fall asleep to very easily, it's that one. That's one of them.
I saw it in the theater, and the thing I remember the most is that possible cannibal Armie Hammer looks like Joe Biden at the end of the movie. And I was like, huh, weird. But
J. Edgar is famously like makeup city for all these like Hollywood hots.
Everybody looks like Clayface from Batman the Animated Series mid-transformation.
Sure. Great.
Not like real people. He's in one scene, and once again, very cool that he got to work with Clint Eastwood on his first film. But I don't want to make it out to be like, he was being, Dame whatever,
J. Edgar Hoover.
Dame J. Edgar Hoover. Oh, there was a joke in Goodnight Oscar about J. Edgar Hoover not being able to run in heels, and I was like,
I fucking can't wait to go see that show.
Oh, you're gonna love it. You're gonna love it.
I want to see that. I want to see that too. I'm trying to get tickets for it.
It's so good, and there's a moment, and like this is a complete digression. There's a moment towards the end, and you're gonna fucking lose your mind. That's all. So, yeah.
Okay. All right.
You'll both love it.
All right. The Broadway boys, we're here. So after J. Edgar, he gets approached by his agent and is like, hey, Lena Dunham is doing this weird, kooky little show called Girls. You should really go out for it. And he's like, TV? I don't think so, hon.
He's like, did you see me on The Unusuals? Not for me.
Yeah. He basically kind of, hearing him talk about it, it sounds like he was very much like, I don't know if I could do like TV really, really, I really love doing theater stuff. I'm a weirdo. But his agent's like, no, like you need to go out for this. This is a show that like everyone's talking about. It's gonna be something. You got to do it. So he finally goes out for it, and he's just like immediately taken by the script and taken by Lena, and they have this kind of fierce connection. They end up, coming up with Adam, the character, thinking like, he says he plays him like a rhinoceros who's just like very tough skinned and just like runs into things until he's exhausted.
Supposedly, and he's not even sure this is true, but the idea was that his character wasn't really supposed to last beyond, either 1 or 2 episodes, but they liked working with him so much that they decided to write him more. And isn't he on all 6 seasons?
No, I don't think he's on for all 6 seasons. Okay. He got 3 nominations for an Emmy for an Outstanding Supporting Actor in a comedy series. Comedy LOL.
I much like TV, not for me, Adam Driver. Girls, not for me. So I haven't really... I watched the first season, I think, when it was on, and I was like, I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah, it's... I was not living in New York when Girls was coming out, and I think I was just like kind of like resentful about it. Like all my friends were in New York living fucking Girls, and I was like in middle of buttfuck nowhere, Texas, not living Girls.
I was actively avoiding living Girls. So that was the...
It's tough. Again, fucking 2007 Bushwick, dark place. But anyway, that's the breakthrough. Like, people either love him or hate him or some combination of the both. The character is just so prickly, so polarizing.
Yeah, then maybe we just find a new place. There's a lot on Craigslist that doesn't require a broker.
Yeah, very cool.
Oh, right. I've been on this list for artist housing for like forever. They tend to favor married couples though, so it might help if we did that.
Yeah, and I guess it's time to finally join a food co-op. It's like, I don't know, I've never wanted to because I find the whole shift thing kind of demeaning, but...
Well, I can do them all, if you handle the bills and stuff like that. I'm still not great with computers.
Yeah, he's getting noticed. And soon after that, he gets a fucking phone call from Steven Spielberg, who's like, hey, girlie, want to be in Lincoln? And so, 2 for 2, he's got historical dramas directed by these megawatt Hollywood directors. He also starts up his little relationship with Noah Baumbach, who, my God, they must be best friends.
Yeah.
The shit they do together, I'm like, y'all are weird. I don't know what's going on there. But he meets Noah and casts him in Frances Ha. which I remember when Frances Ha came out and everyone was like, oh, what an indie darling. This is the movie.
It's one of the few Noah Baumbach movies I like, so I'm not gonna fight you on it, but it's fun.
I remember watching it back when it came out and being like, oh my god, like New York is so crazy.
Yeah.
Indie film
I
is
want
so
to
crazy.
dance down the street to David Bowie.
Yeah. But yeah, so like it's funny, even though he starts off his career in these big movies with small roles like Lincoln and J. Edgar, he almost immediately kind of retreats into the indie world with Frances Ha, Not Waving But Drowning, and then, I don't know, my favorite movie of all time, fucking Gaby. I swear to God, I've seen Gaby like 10,000 times. Easily.
I think what this is, I mean, most of those roles, Lincoln, and while it is a scene with Daniel Day-Lewis, and it's a good scene, it's a one scene, like it's a oneer
Right.
for Lincoln.
I think we choose to be born.
I don't suppose so.
Or we fitted to the times we're born into.
Well, I don't know about myself. You may be. Sir, fitted.
And then he's not in Frances Ha a ton. And I think what it is what we're seeing is sort of what would have been his natural career path had he not lucked out into being in these films with these sort of auteur directors. But I did watch Not Waving But Drowning for this. I really liked it. It's not perfect by any means. It's very indie. But his character's sort of he's like a ne'er-do-well, like, which, you know, he's a guy who starts dating one of the main characters and she's trying to be friends with the batter kids and they like steal and he's like, I'm not gonna go party with them because they're stealing.
Like goody two shoes.
Yeah. And I liked this performance because it was like, I felt like that was the kind of neuroses I probably went through in my like late teens, early 20s, where I'm like,
Same.
I don't want to be a bad kid.
It's hard, same.
I want to hang with the good kids.
Yeah, and you're right, though, because, like, I mean, in Gaby, he's not in it a lot. Like, these movies, like, they're tip spots, but they're also very New York stuff. He's also still doing plays. He does Look Back in Anger, and he won a Lucille Lortel Award, which is like a local acting award here in New York. So he's very much like a downtown guy, downtown theater guy.
Yeah.
You know, friends are casting him in their small movies. You know,
he is really funny in Gaby. I do want to make sure I do mention that he has that. He's a comic book nerd. He has that great speech about you know, Cyclops, like, or Spider-Man, like, it was very topical for the time.
I stopped reading Spider-Man ever since he made that deal with the devil.
I was such a huge Mary Jane fan. I don't know why they screwed that up.
I'm sticking to the X books. At least when Cyclops psychically cheated with Emma Frost on Jean Grey, who we all know is the love of his life, at least there was a little build-up. Didn't happen overnight. They didn't need the devil to magically swoop in and say, oh, suddenly you're married.
Hey, Tom.
Yeah, Gaby makes me laugh every time I see it. It's
so funny.
So funny. But yeah, I mean, like he kind of continues on this path. I didn't watch Bluebird.
He's in 2 scenes. You didn't. I mean, it's good, but it's also sad. And yeah, but he's in 2 scenes. You're good.
I have seen the movie The F Word / What If. But again, like, it's not the Adam Driver show. You know, when we just talked about Inside Llewyn Davis, you know, he has a small part in that.
He's so funny in that. And that movie's fully relying on the fact that he's like tall and gangly and kind of odd.
He looks like fucking Woody.
Yeah.
Literally. It's giving Woody.
I mean, I'm assuming you've seen Inside Llewyn Davis, Brian.
Oh, it's my favorite Coen Brothers movie. I love it so much. I love his outer space. I love it so much. It's so good. It's so good.
Surprisingly accurate.
Yeah.
Well, when you've seen it so many times, it starts to get ingrained in your memory and your vocabulary.
Awesome. I saw Tracks, which comes out in 2013.
Yeah.
I was like, my mom would love this movie. Oh my God. Like, and that's no shade, but like, it's literally
and
just
you know
like,
what, Louis? I am your mother.
because you love tracks.
I loved tracks. I am so attracted to sad main characters. Main characters are really, even if you go all the way back to our first episode of the Mix Reviews, and I was like, Melancholia is Kirsten Dunst's best role. There's something about Mia Wasikowska. Is that how you say her name? I'm terrible with pronouncing.
Something like that.
Yeah, I'm the worst at pronouncing anything. She there's such a deep well of like not wanting to be around people, and just like the way it comes out and expresses itself. And poor Adam Driver plays this like kind of gregarious, kind of stupid nature photographer who's sent out with her she's transporting 3 dromedary camels across the outback, and she's
not transporting, girl. She's literally just like, I'm sad, so I'm walking across Australia and I need the camels.
I mean, the definition is moving from place to place, so transporting, I don't think I'm wrong there. And you know, she's basically National Geographic's footing the bill, but only if this wildlife photographer goes on with her, and he clearly like falls in love with her, and she is like 100% misanthrope. Like they have a sexual encounter at one point, which he like completely misinterprets into like, we're in love. Yeah. And she's like, no, we're not.
She's like, I'm in love with the land. I'm in love with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tracks is funny because looking at the poster, they really sold it as like these 2 people in love in the middle of the desert. And it's like, no. That's not what's going on.
Why would I need an exercise bike?
Oh, it's not an exercise bike. It's a backup generator for the radio in case the batteries fail.
I'm not taking the radio.
Please, Robin, just take the radio.
Wait, you want to die out there or something?
Take the radio, in case.
Okay, I'll take the radio, but I'm not taking the bike.
You know, it's really reassuring to know that my sister won't be alone out there.
Well, I'm only meeting up with her 4 or 5 times.
2 or 3 times. 2 or 3.
I was surprised at how effective the movie is. I was really taken by it.
It's like also just a beautifully lensed film. Just the cinematography alone is absolutely gorgeous.
I did want to mention in 2014, he's in this tiny little indie drama called Hungry Hearts.
Yes.
Which fucking, the way my jaw was dropping watching this movie.
I have never talked about her before on the show, but Alba Rohracher is one of my, literally hands down, one of my favorite actresses working. And I know we'll probably never do an episode of her because she does mostly Italian films, and it's who wants to hear 2 Americans talk about movies that they can't understand the language. But I love this movie. I love their chemistry. I think it woofs out a little bit at the end, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But everything up to that build up, I saw this movie in 2014 and I was just like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I was jaw dropping.
If you'd been protected from everything for 9 months, and from one day to the next, we're thrown into this noisy, stinking, toxic cloud, how would you react?
Believe it or not, this exact same thing has happened to me. And it's been a long time ago, so I don't remember the exact details. But since then, I've eaten a mound of dirt and nothing has happened to me.
What's bothering you?
What's bothering me is that he hasn't even gone outside.
7 months are nothing compared to a whole lifetime. He'll have all the time he wants to breathe in the open air.
When does that time come?
When did you turn into such a piece of shit?
It's just kind of a stunning, audacious movie. Like, I was like, they're going where?
Yeah.
This movie is taking turns.
It's directed by Saverio Costanzo, who is a Italian filmmaker. It's set in New York. It's basically like rom-com premise.
Yeah.
Adam Driver, Alba Rohracher, they get locked in a bathroom together, and at first they're panicking, and then it's like a cute meet cute, and literally like 3 scenes later, they're fucking, and she's like, please, like, she literally says like the words like "Don't come in me," and he does. And
sounds like my kind of movie.
Yes, she gets pregnant. They get married, and they have like rom-com wedding. Like What a Feelin' plays during the wedding. He sings her an Italian song. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Suddenly,
boom, she's crazy.
She's not eating. She's trying to kill her baby. Baby's born. Still trying to kill her baby. Clearly going through some sort of psychosis, like prepartum depression, postpartum depression, depression all around. He's trying to get his kid back. He doesn't know what to do. He's in love with this woman, really wants to trust her, but clearly can't. And it's all downhill from there.
I fully was just like, and this is why you don't fucking marry someone you've met 2 weeks ago.
Yes, exactly.
What is wrong with straight people? I also was just like, maybe, listeners out there that have children, like, thank you for your service, thank you for your work, but we don't need any more kids. Everyone else who doesn't have kids yet, like, don't do it.
Counterpoint, she didn't want him. She didn't want him either.
No, but then she's like, my indigo baby. I can feel it. I can feel it in my gut. I know what's right for my baby. Ugh.
I like that is the same accent you use for when you do like West Side Story quotes.
That's very true. That's like, very true. Fucking
like, how many bullets left? One for you.
One for me. All that to say, Hungry Hearts is very good. I agree with you. I thought the ending was like the shocking ending, but also I was like, that's kind of a cop-out.
Yeah, exactly. It felt a little, and it's based off a book. Who knows if the book ends that way, but people who read the book know it ends how it ends. But I was like, we could have done a little more with that.
Yeah. He's busy around this time, though. He does a second Noah Baumbach movie, While We're Young, which I was surprised at, like... Again, it's just like this movie's premise is basically like truly the aughts in Bushwick were hell, and like young people are the worst.
But so are old people. That's the
and talk about that.
I don't want to hang out with anyone in this movie.
No, absolutely not. He also has a bit part in This Is Where I Leave You, which I remember watching in theater because I had read the book before, and the book is very good. The movie is less so. Yeah. Though I do love Connie Britton, and anything she does, she can do no wrong. This is the movie where Tina Fey tries really hard to be a serious actress.
It's okay, because she's doing the third Hercule Poirot film. So
she what?
Yeah. You've not seen that trailer? Yeah. Leave meeting.
Wow. She said, I'm back.
I do like his entrance in the film. He like rolls up late to the funeral and like opens his arm real wide and goes, "Mommy."
Yeah.
So good.
Oh, one of my favorite deliveries of the movie is that when he sneaks through the backyard and then he runs into Jason Bateman's soon-to-be ex-wife. I always knew there was something of a cold-hearted slut in you. Takes one to know one. Touché, pussycat.
Yeah. They do have some, like, I mean, I think some of, like, the spirit of the book of that, like, kind of whippersnapper type energy still exists. But, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of like a celebrity salad scenario.
Yeah, it's fine for what it is. It's cute and endearing and harmless. I enjoy it, though. I haven't read the book, so...
No, yeah, I think that's the right take,
what
though,
it
like,
is. For what it is, it's fine. It's nothing memorable or anything.
And I do like that. We did an entire Jane Fonda episode, and there's a great bit of fun of like clearly Jane Fonda sanctioned making fun of her own plastic surgery, which is one of her big regrets.
Correct.
And so I like that that she's quite capable of taking the piss out of herself too, because he even does have a lot where he's like, I see mom's new breasts have shown up to the funeral.
Yes.
So.
How exactly do you think you can add to the business?
I can help you grow it. New locations and expanded lines. What?
The only thing you've ever grown is weed.
He was very good at it.
Mommy, come on!
I'm just saying he's very entrepreneurial.
Worth noting that Adam did win the Volpe Cup for Best Actor at Venice for Hungry Hearts, which, casual. I mean, I had never heard this movie in my life.
It's very good.
So, there you go. All right. 2014, busy year already, and then he gets a fucking phone call from J.J. Abrams and is like, "Hey, girly, wanna talk Star Wars. And yeah, he's hesitant at first, but JJ convinces him, and he's cast now, obviously, as the villain Kylo Ren in the reboot, continuation, whatever the fuck you want to call it, of...
What do they keep calling them in the newer Scream movies? The requels?
Requels.
Yeah, I hate it. Don't let it happen. You hear a kid saying requels, you slap them and tell them no.
Yes. That's not a word. Yeah, and so he's in the 3, tentpole Star Wars reimaginings. I don't fucking know.
Just their episodes. They're late.
Yes. Yes.
I told this story on Twitter, but I'm gonna do it here anyways because whatever. I had to buy a new phone earlier this week or last week, and they had Star Wars on in the background because it was Star Wars Day, and it was it was the end of A New Hope, which is the first of the originals.
Yes.
And the guy serving me was like, I don't love these prequels, but they're pretty fun. And I was just like, I'm like the oldest human alive.
Wow. Kill me. Yeah, so here's the hot goss with me in Star Wars, specifically these 3. I can't remember which ones I've seen. I know I have seen at least the first one. A part of me thinks I have seen the second one. I for sure have not seen the third one.
You're not missing much.
Yeah, I grew up loving Star Wars. I will admit that my love for the series has definitely dwindled these last few years, but I was really excited when they announced that he was going to be in it, and I remember before they even confirmed that he was going to be the villain of this new trilogy, I was so excited because a lot of people were like, who's this Adam Driver guy? I mean, I know that he was on Girls at that point, and not everyone had watched it, but a lot of people were like, oh, I can't wait to see what this Adam Driver guy does. And honestly, he's the big highlight of this trilogy. It's funny because the character starts off shitty, but his performance gets better as the series progresses, which is strange because the films got so much worse as they progressed. So luckily he was the saving grace of that trilogy. You could say what you want about the character. The character was not the best, but honestly, he made that character work as well as he did. And it was cool that he got to shine in this big juggernaut of a franchise, and It's great that because without this, I don't know if he would be as popular as he is. Maybe amongst the independent film community, sure, but now everybody knows who Adam Driver is because of Star Wars.
Yeah, he said he has kids still stop him on the street and be like, "You're Kylo Ren." But I agree, except for the fact that I think The Last Jedi is the shiny bauble of the 3, which I know is
I do like The Last Jedi too,
and I know that's controversial. Whatever. I also grew up with Star Wars, but I'm not one of those people. Like I try not to be too nerdy and precious about them. So, but I really despise the last one. I think speaking of his performance specifically, he provides an interesting parallel because a lot of the things people complained about with the original trilogy was that Luke was very whiny, which is very funny because then the conversation got like, no, he's the ultimate hero. Why would he act the way he does in The Last Jedi? And it's like, well, I don't know. Everybody complained that he was whiny for 30 years. But I think what's interesting about Kylo Ren is he's very whiny in a similar manner. And like it's an interesting lineage between, even though he is a nephew of Luke Skywalker, not a direct lineage, it is that like interesting of like Anakin, Luke, Kylo, or Ben, if you will, and all
his
three,
Christian name.
His Christian name. It's the one that he, when you tap him on Grindr, that's the one you have to call him.
Jesus Christ.
Was that too much?
No.
I think it's an interesting, like, there is an interesting parallel to be drawn. Obviously, I don't want to stay too long on Star Wars, even though you're right, Brian. It's the biggest. Like, he is known because of Star Wars. But I think what's hinders, obviously, this last trilogy or the current trilogy is that there was no plan going through, and the others were so meticulously planned, and they had an arc and everything going in, and sure, there were changes that were made as they were making the films, but like they knew what the overall bones of it were, and this one they clearly didn't, and so you get great you get moments like Oscar Isaac being like, somehow Palpatine's returned, and, and you don't want that. But yeah, I think he is. I agree with you, Brian. I think he's kind of the highlight, unfortunately, because everybody else is a little underwritten.
Yeah.
I think like he also just has the specific skill set. Like he's such a intense like presence. He knows how to scowl. He knows how to like ruffle his brow. He has such an interesting face, and the hair is so glorious. And so he does have this like imposing presence and figure. And so he is perfect for, this deeply troubled, deeply, I don't know, fucking upset and mad man-child that is Kylo Ren.
Why did you hate your father? Give me an honest answer. You had a father who loved you. He gave a damn about you.
I didn't hate him.
Then why?
Why what? Why what? Say it.
Why did you kill him? I don't understand.
No. Your parents threw you away like garbage.
They didn't.
They did. But you can't stop needing them. It's your greatest weakness. Looking for them everywhere. In Han Solo. Now in Skywalker.
And I think you both are right. And critics agree. Like, he's just the best. It's always so fun to see Adam Driver in this series. And honestly, I think a lot of the weird movies that are coming up in his career would not have been made without his time in Star Wars, period.
Also, how is anybody going to win a lightsaber battle against him? He's got like a 12-foot reach.
Yeah.
He's just like holding their head and like
yeah. I got you from over here. His next big thing is 2016's Silence, where he works with Martin Scorsese. Martin Scorsese's long in the works passion project. I watched this yesterday. It is a long movie, but like very interesting, I think. Like it's beautiful.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like I was like, oh my God, making this movie must have been so punishing for everyone involved.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny though, because Adam Driver, obviously like he's said in interviews Scorsese is his favorite. So like this is a real treat for him. And he only had glowing things to say about Scorsese. But he also said he's never worked with anyone like him before. Like they would literally go into scenes without any plans. And Scorsese was like, we'll figure it out together. I mean, they had the script, but like no like blocking for the actors, no blocking for the cinematographer. Like he was like, we'll just sort of figure it out together. And it's so funny because the reverse of that, Liam Neeson has said that, Scorsese was very concentrated and very focused, and the littlest noise could like set him off. And so and Liam Neeson's worked with him before. So like maybe it was just the difference of, but yeah.
I don't think they have any scenes together
right.
either, because, I was like, kind of like, oh my God, Adam Driver is not in a lot of this movie.
No, he's truly not.
And I only say that because it is a long movie.
2 hours and 40.
So he's, he plays a Jesuit priest from
Portugal.
Portugal.
I said that like I just won trivia. Portugal.
Him and his Angels in America buddy. Now I'm forgetting
Andrew Garfield.
Yeah, Andrew Garfield. My father, Andrew Garfield.
Kylo Ren and Spider-Man go to Japan to try and get back
Qui-Gon Jinn.
Qui-Gon Jinn. I was going to say Ra's al Ghul just to give a different flavor, but
I was going to say the dad from Taken.
Literally, I worked at an AMC when Silence came out, and I remember someone comes up to me and they're like, "Oh, what's this Silence movie?" And I'm like, "Well, Spider-Man and Kylo Ren go to find Qui-Gon Jinn." They're like, "Sold. I want to go see that." And I'm like, "All right, it's not what you expect, but okay."
Yeah, I was going to say
it's actually about the silence of God's voice and not hearing it, and doubting your faith in religion and how that fucks you up.
I just watched it today for the first time too. It's one of the few Scorsese that I'd not seen because I had heard it was a 3-hour movie about Jesuit priests, and I was like, cool, not for me, but go on, work. But it's beautiful and gorgeous, and like because of the sort of lack of Adam Driver in it, I will not name it my 5-star review, but I don't think he's in a better film than Silence. I think Silence is fucking rocks, you know.
What do we think about Adam Driver's accent work in this movie?
I mean, if you're gonna take him to task about it, you got to take Andrew Garfield to task too, because the first time Andrew Garfield spoke, I was like, oh no.
Not their finest hour, not their finest hours.
And I love that they both are like, we're gonna do the Portuguese, and Liam Neeson's like, great, I'm Irish.
Yeah,
I'm still Irish.
Well, I was like, are they doing a... I mean, first of all, what the fuck does a Portuguese accent sound like? I don't know. It sounds like they are
I spent an hour layover in a Portuguese airport, so I know exactly. I have no idea.
So actually, I'm an expert. No, but at first I was like, are they doing like a Latin accent? I only bring up Adam specifically because it felt even more foreign coming out of his mouth.
Yeah.
Famously, Andrew Garfield is a British person, so he has an accent. Adam Driver, it felt just like a little clunky coming out of his mouth. And I was like, oh. And also his character is very much kind of like the whinier one of the two.
The Kylo Ren of the two.
Yes, correct. And so like it just felt a little bit forced and strained. But yeah, like you said, Gavin, it's a Gorgina movie.
Sick of being trapped in here all day.
Eat.
We don't even know if Father Ferreira is alive or dead. The villagers never even heard of him. These people are so frightened. It's fear all they have. And lice.
They have us. We comfort them.
How much longer can we do that?
We asked for this mission, Francisco. We prayed for this in the exercises. God heard us then, and he hears us now.
Well, then may he guide us to Ferreira so we can know the truth.
Do you think it's because he has that, also because he has like such a, first of all, he has a very specific, because he does also have an accent. It's an American accent, but it's very regional. And he has like such a kind of baritone to his voice that like, I think it all came into play, for me at least. I don't know.
Yeah, I part of me was like, his diction was also just like very like, I don't know what we are doing. I was like,
It's too dangerous.
Yes.
It's me, a priestio. There's a lot of that.
Yeah. Noteworthy to say, he lost 51 pounds.
Yeah, and he looks it. He's gaunt.
And he literally shot like, as soon as they wrapped Force Awakens, he started losing all the weight for this. They started shooting this like 2, maybe 3 months after Force Awakens wrapped filming.
That's crazy.
And he was still doing girls at the time too. Let's not forget about that either.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is also really funny because apparently Andrew Garfield spent an entire year growing out his hair and getting that beard into place.
God. I remember when he was doing press for Amazing Spider-Man 2 and he had that beard and I'm like, what is this? And they're like, oh, he's doing a Scorsese movie. Oh, if he ever makes it, of course.
I'd never felt more kinship than somebody that can only grow that amount of facial hair over a year. I was like, same.
Yeah.
That would be me.
Yeah, I will tell our listeners, if you want like a very big, epic historical drama,
but also
heavy stuff,
also incredibly personal. I mean, it's just, you know, I think it plays a lot with the ideas of what people think of faith. I think we have a very odd concept of faith nowadays, where people kind of think faith is magic and faith is about wishing, and sometimes they get answered and sometimes they don't. And this movie's really like, no, faith is truly about devotion and truly,
and also like a lot about colonialism. There's a big part of me for a big part of this movie where I was like, well, if these fucking white people just didn't go to Japan,
I was like, you know, I was like, these Japanese people definitely should not be killing people and should not be torturing them in this way, but also like they've literally given you the parameters how to fix this. Like,
they're like, we're fine, thanks. His next movie is Jim Jarmusch's Patterson. Bryan, wow, as a Jersey native, I can sense the devotion coming from you.
Hometown pride.
Oh man, this is top 3 New Jersey films of all time. Like this is very high in terms of New Jersey films. This is a very special film for me. Where I went to college in New Jersey, the next town over is Patterson, so it's kind of very sentimental to me. Yeah, I mean, if you want to talk about a very relaxing, laid-back film that really doesn't have much plot to it, I mean, this is a perfect candidate. And I know that there are people that watch this movie and they're like, it's so boring. Nothing happens. Like,
fuck off.
What? Fuck off. Like, what the fuck? Blah, blah, blah. Why isn't he doing anything? You know, when he's driving the bus, they're like, oh, can he drive it at a certain speed or else it's going to explode? If you want to do that, why don't you watch Speed instead, buddy? But
that movie has been made, in fact.
Yeah, exactly. It's been made and it's called Speed. But no, Patterson is really masterful, and it's such a different performance for Adam, especially compared to that year with the fact that he had Silence and this, which are two drastically different films.
Right.
And it just showcases that he has so much range to everything that he brings. And I also love the subtle touch of how in the beginning of the movie, you see his little military photo. You see his photo at the start. His actual photo. And I was like, oh, that's nice. That's a nice little touch to it. No, Patterson, I mean, I could go on a whole spiel about it. I think I wrote an essay about it for one of my classes in college.
Wow.
It's just so incredible. And
I will say, you know, I might be one of the, I have questions for Jim Jarmusch. I'm like, what is going on? I'm trying to be patient with you. I'm trying to understand. The girlfriend to me felt very, I was like, are you fun? Are you good? Are you an emotional terrorist? Like, what's going on? I did not like her, is what I will say.
Wow, I think she gets a bad rap because I remember when the movie came out and there was a lot of like, what is he trying to say with this girlfriend? She's clearly like, like she doesn't work and she's trying to be. But I think what she is I think she's exactly what Patterson himself. But we should also explain that he is also named Patterson in the film. He's Patterson of Patterson, New Jersey, and I think she's exactly what he wants out of life. Like, she is the free spirit that he sort of wishes he could be, but everything's so internal with him and everything. That's why she keeps pushing him to, like, you know, why don't you print your poems, and why don't you, because she sees this like grand life for herself, which I don't think is bad, because I don't think she's doing anything destructive. It's not like she's like, you know, deranged. Like, one of my favorite bits is she asks him for money to buy a guitar in these lessons, and then she gets them, and she actually fucking learns it. And I feel like in a lesser film, it would have been like, they would have just sat in a corner, and it just would have been like, she's using him for his money. But I was like, oh, like, this is actually like a nice thing. She like genuinely is interested in learning the guitar.
Maybe I'm just like, have been jaded by a cruel world. But I was like, oh, she learned. What is the song she learned? It's like,
oh, I've been working on the railroad. Like, something easy, but still, she learned it in a day. I couldn't learn it in a day.
I know. I mean, it's just so the movie really centers around, like, you know, that it's hard to be an artist. You know, it's hard to, you know, I mean, there is a devastating scene at the end with his notebook, and just kind of how ephemeral art is. I think her presence, though, is just a little bit too twee for me. A little bit too, like, flighty, girly, like, please promise me you will write your poems down. It's like, girl, he doesn't want to. Let him live. Yeah, it's a pretty movie. I just, probably, like, not for me. Like, not
and
my
that's
vibe.
Fine. You know, not everything's for everybody. I do have to ask, Bryan, since you ever been to the actual falls?
I have been. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's really gorgeous. We went there a couple years ago too.
Patterson
it was very cool.
Is not my favorite area. It's not exactly the best area, and there are portions of the movie where you see that Patterson, New Jersey, is not the greatest area in the world, but the falls are just so relaxing and so beautiful, and you tend to forget. You're like, oh, this is in this city. No disrespect to the people listening if you're from Patterson, New Jersey, but the falls are just very relaxing and beautiful. And, you know, you brought up, you know, a particular sequence with a book, and, you know, I love dogs so much. I love dogs, but man, when it made me hate a certain dog for a while.
Yeah.
Just the way he like said, "I hate you, Marvin." Yeah,
Right.
that's literally my mood, dude. Literally,
But
my
that's
mood.
also like she keeps telling him to fucking walk Marvin. I'm like, why don't you walk Marvin?
Right. No,
girly?
and that I agree about. That she should take care of her own dog.
Yeah, as someone who loves the movie, it's like, come on, girl. It's you're home with the dog all day. Why does he need to go walk the dog?
Yeah.
He talked about that dog in an interview, and he was like, he like loves dogs, hates Halloween, which automatically makes him my enemy.
I hate Halloween. I kept bothering her about getting a dog for a while. I think it was just I was on a tangent at Halloween. Fucking Halloween, like what are the ridiculous holidays, bullshit. If I had a dog, play with my dog on Halloween. I don't have to see fucking kids all the time. And she's like, well, I'm getting you a goddamn dog for your birthday, so shut up. And I'm like, oh, really? Let's just go right now. Let's go get a dog right now.
He loves dogs, and he's like, yeah, I was supposed to hate the dog in that movie, and that dog and I just got along so well. He's like, but the dog's dead now. So I was like, what?
Okay, plot twist.
Yeah, darkness, Adam Driver. We can move on from Patterson.
Yeah.
But...
So I mean, like, we're now in the era of him kind of just like being a fucking weirdo, going back to like auteur kind of just weirdo shit. He makes again with Noah Baumbach the Meyerowitz stories.
Yeah, he's in one scene.
Scene.
He does Steven Soderbergh's Logan Lucky, which I hadn't seen before. Super fun, super like Soderberghy.
It's fine. It's not my favorite. It's kind of an excuse for everybody to put on a silly wig and to do a silly accent.
Yeah,
and that's the.
And he has one arm in it.
He does.
He has one arm.
Yeah, and that's actually the like him making the drink is a very cool scene, but then it's fucking Seth MacFarlane's in that scene, so I'm just
Seth
like,
MacFarlane is the one. Like, I'm like, why him? Like, what? It ticks me out.
that's Soderbergh for you. That's Soderbergh being like, let me fuck with everybody. Here's Seth MacFarlane.
And then famously, we're now in 2017, 2018. He hooks up with Spike Lee to make Black Klansman. We talked about Black Klansman in our Spike Lee episode.
Yeah.
And I could not rewatch this movie. I saw it in theaters. I was radiating after I finished watching this movie. It is at the time and still now, obviously, but like at the time, it was just so topical. Like the ending of the movie literally ends with fucking the white nationalist fucking marches and rallies that were happening like a year prior. It's a very effective movie. I will say, from what I remember, I didn't think that Adam Driver, for me at least, is like the standout of it. Like, there's so much going on. He is just the vehicle for like white people to get into this movie.
Yes and no. He's the physical presence.
Yes,
for John David Washington's character to ingratiate himself with the Ku Klux Klan, and it's based off a true story. And he did get to meet the real guy, I believe, but the real guy didn't want to be involved with the movie at all. And I mean, I think you're right. He's certainly not, to me, he's not the like standout. He's certainly not the reason you go see the movie. But I think he plays such an interesting part because he is John David Washington sees him as a guy who is also an outsider, but also can get away with passing, who can ingratiate himself with all these other bigoted white people. And so I think there's an interesting dichotomy there. But yeah, I mean, I guess maybe you've talked me into it that he's not. I also haven't seen it in a while because it is a hard movie to watch. It's a good movie. It's a very good movie. I don't want to say anything negative about it, but it is certainly not a joy.
Not a fun watch. What do you think, Brian?
Yeah, it's not exactly the most uplifting watch. There are some moments of comedy to be found in it, for sure. Some of that Spike Lee comedy to be injected in it. And the banter between John David Washington and Adam Driver is really, really excellent. I think they work off each other really beautifully. And I really liked Adam's performance as Flip in this. I don't know if it was like Oscar caliber material. I'm certainly happy he got an Oscar nomination for this because it felt nice to finally say Oscar nominee Adam Driver.
Right.
But I don't think you walk out of this movie being like, oh, Adam Driver is the reason to see this. Honestly, John David Washington to me was the real reason why people should go see this. Really solid film though, and I think it's cool that Adam and Spike got to work together.
Lose that Jewish necklace around your neck.
Jimmy, it's not a Jewish necklace, it's a Star of David. Okay.
Flip, you're Jewish?
I don't know, am I?
You go see this movie because it's a Spike Lee movie. Like, and there are no fucking misses with Spike. And yeah, but again, like, hard watch. I wonder if it would be different now with a couple of years removed from.
I don't know, because I feel like we're now moved back into a time where we're lying to ourselves about it. So like,
yeah. I mean, like, it's right. You're right. We're still in it. I just remember being very raw about it.
Yeah,
that year. He's on his weirdo freak shit with Terry Gilliam's The Man Who Killed Don Quixote. I had no fucking idea what I was getting into with this movie. It is just weirdo freak shit. It's just weirdo freak shit. We'll probably get back to it. Let's just put a pin in her. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm fine with not talking about it right now.
Yeah, let's not. One of his just no.
In 2019, he does The Report, which I quite liked actually.
Yeah, it's good.
But also again, like, it's a very political, topical. Like, we're still in this fucking moment. Like, it's wild that we're still in this moment because this report is literally about the fucking 9/11 and how we treated like prisoners.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's the like less. It's like Zero Dark 30 if Zero Dark 30 weren't as sensational, and like that's the whole. It's the and I do think that hurt, like, and not because it's less sensational, but it is for me. This one was a little more. If Patterson was boring to you, this was a little more. I thought the information. Yeah, I thought the information was great, but I'm like, just make a documentary. I will sit through a documentary, but I thought it was fine. I think he's very good in it, but it's not my favorite.
It's funny. I remember thinking like, oh, this is kind of like pro Feinstein propaganda. like it's very.
That's
like,
true. That what Annette Bening plays fucking Feinstein. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and like, listen, Dianne Feinstein has arguably done good things in her career.
Yeah.
She currently is not.
Yeah.
And like, people are, say it with me, complicated, layered.
Two things can be true.
Yes, two things can be true. It's around this time where he goes back to Broadway and does Burn This. People are obsessed with him in this performance. He gets a Tony nomination for Best Actor in a Play. And then he's spending those Star Wars checks, baby.
Yeah.
Because next up he does, again with Jim Jarmusch, The Dead Don't Die, which, for me, freak shit. Just weirdo freak shit movie.
Oh yeah, no, I think the agreement's all around on this one. It's bad. It's real bad.
It's not very, honestly, it's at its best when it's just Adam Driver and Bill Murray just driving around. I really think that's where the film shines, and Chloe Sevigny is there too, and she's always a delight, but no, this is not the win that I would have expected after pumping out something great like Patterson. I was excited for it. I'm like, oh, a zombie comedy? Sure. Right. Why not? With this cast? Sure, I'm in.
But where are the jokes?
Yeah. Where are the jokes? Where's the comedy?
Honestly, if he could get nominated for an Academy Award for just the way he says ghouls.
So what are you thinking? You really want to know? I'm thinking zombies.
What?
Zombies. Ghouls.
That would be it, but a movie does not make. And so,
no.
It's so boring and bad.
It's bizarre. I was like, why did we cast Selena Gomez? For nothing? For literally nothing? Okay, cool. Like, there's so many just like nothing. So once again, I reiterate, Jim Jarmusch, I have questions.
There's a lot of great stuff in his career, Louis, I will admit, but there's some bad stuff too, and this is unfortunately.
And the reviews are mixed.
Every every life is a pile of good and bad things.
There you go.
The Dead Don't Die
is a bad thing.
Yeah.
Same year though, luckily his good old buddy Noah Baumbach has another movie for him, and that is Netflix's Marriage Story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It premieres at Venice, and this movie quickly becomes one of Netflix's shining jewels in that year's Oscar race. He gets a nomination for Best Actor. I had seen this movie, rewatched the movie. It's so good. It's so good.
Yeah, I think this is clearly my favorite Noah Baumbach film, and I think like it's his masterwork. It's so interesting and layered. I know there's a lot of people who don't like it. I can't imagine that.
I can't imagine why.
And I think like, we talked about, we like joked about the fact that the whole Jennifer Jason Leigh thing, and but I think there's a lot of that. There's a lot of personal stuff that's clearly involved in this movie, and that's what really makes it work. Is unlike the characters in a lot of Noah Baumbach's films that I find very annoying, these feel very real, very lived in people. And also, like, divorce sucks for everyone. Every single person is impacted in a negative way, and it's painful, and it hurts. And I like that this movie doesn't have a clear villain. It's funny, I think there are some people who think there's a clear villain. If there is, you need to go to therapy, because that's on you. It's a fascinating film and such a good performance. My only thing, and I know I'm in the minority of this, I do not care for the being alive performance that Adam Driver gives. And I know it's like a highlight for a lot of people. Doesn't work for me. It's like too on the nose. I was
Brian.
like, I like get it. As a fan of Company, like, I got it. You don't have to sing Being Alive for me.
Brian, tell him what do you think, Brian?
No, it's so good. It's just so good.
Oh my God! Not that. Wow.
The lobby card.
Brian busts
I like
out
the
Being
performance.
Alive.
If it was in a different film, I think it would be fine. But it just was like too like.
No, I get it. And I remember when I saw that at NIF. I remember I got out of the movie right after it was done, and someone's like, "Why did he sing Being Alive?"
It was me. It was me.
Yeah. What was the point of that? It probably was you.
Yeah. I mean, I understand why I absolutely understand why it's there.
I kind of like it. I kind of like the idea. It's like, yeah, I'm going to be embarrassing for a fucking minute. Fucking live with it, okay? Like, life is embarrassing. I just have to go through this whole fucking shit. And yeah, I'll just never, ever forget, like, them going through, like, the divorce proceedings and they're being like, should we get lunch? Guys, what do you think?
Yeah, that's amazing. That is, I mean, Laura Dern in the movie is...
I will say famously...
I'll have the kale salad.
Yeah.
This is something that a lot of people find so weird about me. So there are times where I'm at work and I need something in the background to help the time go quickly. When this movie came out when I was a senior in college, I would play this on loop. Yeah, I'm a child. I'm an infant, basically. And I would play this on loop a lot just in the background. And like the screenplay just helps me like speed things along. It's so incredibly well written. I don't know why. It's weird because this is not the most uplifting movie in the world. But for some weird reason, sometimes these very heartbreaking movies help keep me motivated to like keep going for some weird reason. And I can't relate to this movie at all because my parents are still together. So it's
You're not divorced?
No, I'm not divorced myself, but it's just so incredible. And Adam, I think, should have won the Oscar for this. I think it's kind of disappointing that he didn't win the Oscar. And I love Joaquin. I think he's a great actor, of course, but I think they just awarded him for Joker just because, like, all right, here you go. Here's your Oscar. But I love Marriage Story so much, and I've seen it way more times than I probably could have ever imagined. And I agree with Gavin. I think it's Noah Baumbach's masterpiece. I think it's his best film, and I don't know if he'll ever be better than this. I really don't think he'll ever top this.
Okay, we're almost to the present day. In 2021, he does more kooky freak shit. Annette, which is him and Marion Cotillard as artists who have a puppet baby. Another long ass movie. I think Annette has a good gag. It just takes too long to get there for me.
I do like that Adam Driver plays maybe the world's worst and yet for some reason most famous stand-up comedian.
Yes. It's just I will say it's a beautiful movie. It looks gorgeous.
Oh yeah, I mean, nobody's ever accused Carax of making bad movies, like in terms of looks, but this para mí, Not so much.
Yeah,
not for you.
Not for me.
Not for me either. But
Oh wow. Okay, good.
Not for me. I mean,
Louis and I have both been very nervous about having a guest who wanted to talk about Adam Driver because we're like, how long are we gonna have to talk about Annette? Neither of us wants to.
I'm literally in the middle. There's things that I love about it, and there's things that I don't love about it.
Yeah,
and
there's
Adam's one of the highlights of it for sure. I also love that essentially he's kind of playing an evil version of Bo Burnham. So I kind of like that he takes elements of that and then places him into this.
That took too long to hit my brain, but it worked.
And also, like, you know, you brought up Marion Cotillard. She's great, but honestly, is it weird for me to say that the standout of the movie was Simon Helberg? I thought he was awesome in this. I was shocked. I was genuinely shocked by how good he was in this.
I'm sure in my lifetime revisit Baby Annette performing at the Super Bowl many times. I don't know if I will revisit the movie as a whole.
Yeah.
He does Ridley Scott's The Last Duel, again, working with auteurs.
Yeah, Ridley Scott just has him on speed dial during that year. Because I mean, I feel like you should just talk about him together. Like, he also does House of Gucci. Like, that's...
And where he famously bangs Lady Gaga. And, it's hot. And it's hot.
Oh, it's hot.
I will say that, I mean, I don't know how much you want to talk about Last Duel. I don't want to breeze over it if anybody has any like deep thoughts about it. I know it was like controversial when it came out. People hated it. They loved it. I saw it. I was like, this is fine. Whatever, medieval. For House of Gucci, I will stand by this. That movie is a comedy. It's structured like a comedy. The only people who knew that were Lady Gaga and Jared Leto. I'm not a Jared Leto fan. I think he's amazing in that movie. He's so fucking funny.
Yeah.
Poor Adam Driver is playing the straight man to like fucking Lady Gaga working at level 14.
Yes.
And so like, I mean, literally there's a scene where they're like, everything's going to be great now. And then it cuts to them moving to New York and the soundtrack plays Here Comes the Rain Again by Eurythmics. I was like, this is comedy. This is comedy.
Yeah.
Patrizia is not like that.
Well, I had Franco do a little investigation. I think she's after your money, like they all are. The Reggianis are truck drivers.
Her father has a very successful transportation business. It is an empire.
Oh, a truck driving empire. How many?
How many what?
How many trucks? 50, 500? What does he transport? Garbage? Huh? Mafia.
No one got the memo. The assignment was misunderstood.
Like, to literally go from a medieval epic to a comedy. It's like range from Ridley Scott.
A medieval epic about sexual assault, too, nonetheless. Yeah. Ridley Scott's getting out his Rashomon roots in Last Duel. And, yeah.
I think Adam looks the part. I just don't know that, again, accent work perhaps is not his forte.
Not his best. Not his best. Last Duel, I love The Last Duel. I was very disappointed that it didn't do super well financially. But to be honest, a lot of the people that are like, why didn't this do well financially? I mean, you have to keep in mind the subject matter of the film is very gruesome and very tough. But also, this was still at the point where people were slowly making their way back to theaters. So had this come out, you know, now maybe I don't know. I really have no idea how this would have done if it came out now in 2023, where people are now pretty much going back to the movies and everything. But House of Gucci, I mean, it was fun to watch. I had a good time watching it with my friends, but it's a one-time watch, and that's never gonna. If I ever sit down to watch that again, I have to be under the influence. I can't be sober when I watch that.
Absolutely. Last two things he's been in. Last year he was in White Noise. We talked about it a little bit in our John Cheadle episode. Again, freak shit movie. Noah Baumbach has something to say. I don't know what it is. He does know, congrats to whoever it was that designed that grocery store that they do that big dance number in the end. That was cute. Beyond that, sorry, sweetie, I don't know what that movie is about.
Big step down from Marriage Story. Huge step down from Marriage Story.
Yeah, it was it was his first attempt to adapt something because it's Don DeLillo novel, and it's not my cup of tea. I mean, literally, the two names, Noah Baumbach and Don DeLillo together is my nightmare. So, yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of it either. But yeah, like you said, fun dance number at the end. So
a great dance number.
And that's not spoiling anything because Netflix fucking put it in their trailer.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then he's just started this year the movie 65, which I don't think is a real movie. I don't think humans have seen this movie.
I saw it.
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it.
Where?
It's available to rent now. It like lasted like a week in theaters, Louis. You can.
I don't know. This seems like a psyop to me.
It is. This is a test. Yeah, it exists.
Great.
Moving on.
Moving on. And you know, that's kind of like where we at now for him. In his personal life, he has been married for a long time. His partner, Joanne Tucker, they got married in 2013.
They met at Juilliard, I believe. So she's like a college sweetheart, essentially.
Yeah. They have a son. They're very private about, you know, I mean, she's very private. They're private about their son. Allegedly, she is pregnant with their second child. Congrats to them. They live in Brooklyn Heights. Gavin, we should go find them.
I don't think he wants that.
How do you feel about some light stalking, Gavin? Let's get into that. He founded the Arts in the Armed Forces, a nonprofit that performs theater for all branches of the military in the United States and abroad, which is very fucking cool.
Yeah, I've heard him talk about this. This actually does sound really cool, and it's very. And one of the things I loved about listening to him talk about it too is he said, you know, they try and be very choosy about what they pick.
It's something we started at Juilliard, my second year at Juilliard, where like really for the first time I was working on all these great playwrights like Lanford Wilson, who wrote Burn This, and you know Tony Kushner and things where I was articulating things for myself that I was never able to articulate before. Because, you know, using words wasn't really part of my upbringing, you know, to express a feeling, nor is it really part of military life. I saw being in the military how my unit or my group of guys, so much anger and tension came from not being able to just, you know, say it, to find the words and put it to a feeling. So I tried to reach out through, you know, very established veterans organizations were like, oh, maybe we could read this play, True West, is initially what we wanted to do. And I feel like they'll get, you know, what it is that we're, and everyone like, no, the military doesn't, the plays don't fit the military demographic. They'd rather see San Diego Chargers cheerleaders. Whenever a group of people, you know, especially it's not part of their, you know, socioeconomic upbringing, like won't understand something because it's supposed to be considered like above them, you know, and because of your background, you won't get it, just makes me furious. So we established this. We just paid it for it. Our own Juilliard paid for our first production. We went to Camp Pendleton, and I just picked monologues that I thought that had nothing to do with the military at all, that I thought were funny and diverse in age and race, like the military audience is. And then we read it, and they got it immediately. You know, when you take out theater outside of New York, you kind of forget how much of a weapon it is, and how people still really care about language. And you know, we did this one monologue from this play called China by Scott Organ. It's about like an employer reprimanding her employee for not wearing a bra, and all of the male Marines were walking out of it being like, I thought the whole thing was good to go, I liked it, like the plays. I thought that one monologue was an attack on us a little bit, that we have a system in place for why we do things, and they read it as like, an attack on, you know, the uniform basically, and procedure, and like why things are the way they are, and all the female Marines were walking out being like, I loved all of the monologues, especially that one, because I know what it's like to be a female in a very male-dominated society. I have to wear a cover, I have to like dress like a man and wear a shapeless uniform. So I'm like, oh, I think that, and I didn't think about that at all.
It speaks to how much, you know, his limited time in the armed forces really affected him. And whether or not you are supportive of the fucking American industrial complex that is the fucking military, like there are real people who are out there, you know, literally sacrificing everything.
He thought if he could extend that to other people who needed it, like it's a good thing, and I think that's a noble cause.
Absolutely. All right, that wraps up Adam Driver. Why don't we get into our picks? Let's do our 1-star reviews. Bryan, as our guest of honor, you get to go first and tell us what your 1-star review is.
Okay. I'm going to go with White Noise as my 1-star review.
Ooh.
Look, as we were talking about and how I just brought up how this was such a massive downgrade from the brilliance of Marriage Story, I mean, it shows. And, you know, I know that the source material was apparently, like, unadaptable. I have not read the book. I have no idea what happens in the book. So I cannot say if it was faithful or not, or I'm sure it was. I'm sure
it's
Bob
weirdly faithful. That's
which is good. That's good, but at the same time, and I appreciate the fact that Baumbach was doing something completely out of his wheelhouse, but sweetie, not a win. Sorry. And Adam, he did good in it, but it had no idea what it wanted to be. It was a road trip movie. It was an apocalyptic movie. It was a comedy. It was a family drama. It was a thriller at times. It's like,
I hated
so many
kids.
tones in once, and it just doesn't make sense.
And also, it wants that Delilio edge, and he, you know, once again, this comes from the book, but like he's like a Hitler scholar, and the joke is he can't even speak German.
Picture Hitler near the end, trapped in his Fuhrer bunker beneath the burning city. He looks back to the early days of his power, when crowds came. Mobs of people overrunning the courtyard, singing patriotic songs, painting swastikas on the walls, on the flanks of farm animals. Crowds came to his mountain villa. Crowds came to hear him speak. Crowds erotically charged. The masses he once called his only bride. Crowds came to be hypnotized by the voice.
And it's like, oh, spare me.
And then that third ad's where he's trying to track down someone. It's like, okay, now we're doing a noir type of thing. Like, what is going on here?
Yeah, hated all the kids. I hate children actors that are bad, and the kids here were not great. I also think Greta is weirdly like miscast here.
Yeah,
she is. Yeah,
I remember cutting the talkbacks and her being like, Noah was like, I can't see anybody else but you play this, and then I saw it and I was like,
really?
I was like, okay.
Yeah, and I just remembered that whole saga about like her and like the guy who like is abducting women and like just like icky stuff, icky, not great stuff. Yeah, all over the place, just truly all over the place. And like, I'm glad, I guess Don Cheadle got an above the name like fucking thing on there, but like he is not in this movie a lot. But yeah, a good pick, Bryan, because White Noise is nonsense. Gavin, what do you got?
I'm actually gonna go back a little farther, just because I think there's. I don't want to be mean. I think there's plenty here that you could name as a 1-star review, depending on how you feel about a movie, depending on how you feel about Adam's performance. But I'm going to go to 2013's The F Word, also known as What If.
Wow.
I hate this movie.
Okay.
I hate this movie. You mentioned the girlfriend in Patterson feeling like twee nonsense. This whole movie was twee nonsense. It was absolutely. I could not stand these characters. I didn't want to be with them. I thought Daniel Radcliffe's character was like basically an incel, and I love Daniel Radcliffe. I think he's so good and so funny outside of this. Zoe Kazan, I don't know, babe. Whatever, you're doing your thing. Mackenzie Davis, one of my favorite working actors nowadays.
Yes.
Why is she in this movie?
Yeah.
Why is she in? Adam Driver, essentially, this is a movie where Daniel Radcliffe plays this guy named Wallace. He meets Chantry, Zoe Kazan.
Chantry. Let's sit on that for a while, guys. Chantry.
And he's fresh off a breakup. And by fresh off a breakup, I mean it's been a year. And he's like still obsessing over his previous girlfriend.
Sure.
And he meets Zoe Kazan, but she's busy dating Rafe Spall. And the whole movie is a will they, won't they, who cares? I certainly didn't. And it was just really frustrating. I mean, I got to the point where essentially Daniel Radcliffe accidentally pushes Rafe Spall out a window at one point for yucks. And I was like, come on, guys. But we're here to talk about Adam Driver. Adam Driver plays the asshole friend in it. And I used to belong to a writing group, and we would talk about writing scripts and whatnot. And I had a friend of mine who was writing a kind of a rom-com of a same situation that I would have hoped would have turned out better. And there was a character in this screenplay that I was always like, I don't understand why this man is friends with any of these people, because he's truly just an asshole. He's a complete id. And it doesn't make any sense as to why, like, if you can't give him some sort of heart, some sort of depth, why is he in this film? And that's Adam Driver's character, Alan. He famously has this line, one of the only funny lines in the movie, where he's like shouts that he just had sex and now he's having waffles. It's the best day of his life.
Nachos. At least say it correctly.
Nachos. Yes, yeah. He just had sex and he's now having nachos. Congrats. Those weren't nachos. Those were literally just chips with cheese.
I just had sex. I'm about to eat nachos! It's the greatest moment of my life! Unless you screw it up with whatever it is you're about to say.
It's about your cousin.
She's my cousin. It's like incest.
She's not my cousin.
Yeah, but you're like my brother, so it's like my brother asking my advice on how to incestuously bang my cousin.
No, I'm not. She has a boyfriend.
Yeah, he's been coming over for Thanksgiving and Christmas for the past 5 years.
It's just not for me. There's like animation in the movie to like represent their love fleeting away. I was just like, who is this for and why and how? I mean, and it cost $11 million to make this movie. Yeah. You could have just not.
It's funny. I mean, like, this is the era, 2013, indie nonsense. Everyone was trying to be adorkable.
Yeah, well, that's what I was like, this is 100 days of, or 500 days of summer. Like, stop it. Like,
Redux.
Not for me.
Good pick, Gavin. My 1-star review is absolutely 2018's The Man Who Killed Don Quixote.
Yeah. I figured it was.
I cannot believe that this movie exists. Cannot believe that good old Terry Gilliam spent 25 years.
Yeah, I was going to say almost 30 years.
Trying to make this.
This is not a defense in any means, because I also did not like this movie at all. In fact, I left this movie being like, what was the fucking point? Like, what are you trying to say? You're literally saying nothing. But the script changed a lot. It used to be, it was a thing about time travel, because there's some really great documentaries about that are worth watching if you care about the artistic process. But the final product is embarrassing, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, it's very embarrassing. It's student film level, kookity bookity. To try and sum up the plot, there is this man, Toby, who is a film director. He's a very asshole-y kind of guy. He once upon a time made a movie called The Man Who Killed Don Quixote as a student. And now he is big shot director guy. He's remaking the movie, I believe, or he's making a Don Quixote movie as a big time director. It is not going well. He is in Spain. He is recalling the days of shooting the movie as a college student. He starts running into people who were in that movie, including the man who played Don Quixote in that movie, who now thinks he is the real Don Quixote. And then, honestly, I don't know what the fuck. Is he losing his mind? Is he time traveling? Is everyone doing cosplay to trick this guy to make the movie? I simply do not know. I simply do not know. All I know is that there's bits that amount to nothing. I think Adam Driver doesn't know what he's doing. I think he is taken by artistry and the passion to make something happen. You know, I think he was like Star Wars fatigued and wanted to make something that was artistic, and it's just a fucking mess.
I'm not Sancho. No. And you're not Don Quixote.
No, you Sancho. Oh, Sancho is you must rescue me from these enchanters, huh? Please, Sancho, save me. Take me away, Sancho.
Okay, yeah. I'm a little late for something now, but maybe...
No, Sancho!
All right, ease up, Javier. All right, let go. All right, let me out! Let me out, please! Javier, I gotta go.
It certainly is a take on the tale of Don Quixote. I thought I was going to watch a movie about, like, the classic tale of Don Quixote. But, mama, we've talked a lot before on this podcast about artsy-fartsy nonsense. And, like, there is no movie I have seen in this entire project, Gavin, that we have done over the past 5-6 years that fits the bill more than this. I mean, this fucking guy spent almost 30 years and over 16 million pounds on this pile of steaming shit. My God, I cannot believe.
I think that's a good pick, though.
Yeah.
I think it's a pretty good pick.
Let's get out of here. Let's get into our 5-star reviews. Brian, I have a feeling I know what your 5-star review is, but why don't you tell the kids?
Yeah, so my 5-star review is Marriage Story. I can't really add on anything else that I haven't said already, but I think it's Ab's best performance. I think it's the best film that he's been in. I think it's one of the best performances of the past 10 years.
Wow.
And I that's a high pedestal to have this performance on, but it really is a true masterclass of acting from him, and obviously everyone surrounding him. I mean, the movie would really not work as well as it does if it weren't for him and ScarJo delivering awards caliber performances, and they both knock it out of the park. And again, for someone like me who's never experienced anything that's gone down in this movie, I felt like I was able to relate to it in some capacity. I felt like this movie was so universal in its themes and its topics that really anyone could relate to it and find something to take away from this movie. And it's going to be hard for Adam to be in a project that tops this. I really don't know if he'll ever be in anything better than this. And I mean, I'm not saying that I don't want him to be in anything better than this, and I hope he is in something that's on the same level as this, but Marriage Story to me is the best movie that Adam Driver has been in, and it's the best acting that he's done. And really, I mean, what else can you say that hasn't been said already about this truly, truly beautiful film?
It's interesting that you talk about its universality, because what we talk about a lot in the show is that the thing that works the best, that affects universality, is specificity. And that's what makes the movie so good, is it is this very specific story. It's a very specific story about this specific divorce. But because it's so well drawn, the characters are so well drawn, they feel lived in, they're delivering human lines, and a person who has never experienced can feel those same emotions, and you understand it, and it hits a deeper truth for you. And to use a different Noah Baumbach film, I remember when I was in college, Squid and the Whale came out, and I hated it. And my roommate at the time, I was like, yeah, I didn't get it. I didn't relate to it. I wasn't. And he was like, you don't like it because your parents are still together. Ooh. And I was like, if I have to come into a film with my own homework, right, then it's not a good movie. Right. And I still stand by that. And I think that's what Marriage Story works really well on, is like, yeah, it's like quote unquote universal because everybody sort of relates to it, but it's also like an insular tale that makes sense enough for the audience that it all connects in. Beautiful pick. I think he's so good in that movie, Brian. And it's just, yeah.
I'll skip ahead and say like that is my 5-star review as well. It's just, I think Adam Driver is the best at just conveying like the complex emotions of like what it is to be human, and to what you said, Gavin, earlier, like there are no villains in this movie because these people, for all their problems, like respect each other and have this kid that they're trying to do right by. But like there's just all these moments, like the scene where he gets served the papers by Merritt Weaver. That fucking scene's so good, and she's like, "No shit."
Yeah, she's so funny.
Oh, that's a great scene. She walks in, walks back out, walks in, and everything. The pie, it's pecan.
Yeah.
And what I love about her is she feels She feels like an anti-Noah Baumbach character. She feels like she shouldn't work in a Noah Baumbach movie. It's glorious.
Yeah, but I think in that moment, like, you know, he's just able to convey sadness in a very deep way, but optimism at the same time. He's kind of naive. Like, he's showing all these, like, really aggressive human emotions that are hard to explain and hard to, like, put on your face, but he's really able to give it all. And then when that famous scene where him and ScarJo erupt and he fucking punches through the wall.
I was a director in my 20s who came from nothing and was suddenly on the cover of fucking Time Out New York. I was hot shit and I wanted to fuck everybody and I didn't. And I loved you and I didn't want to lose you. But I'm in my 20s and I didn't want to lose that too, and I kind of did. And you wanted so much, so fast. I didn't even want to get married. Fuck it! There's so much I didn't do.
Oh, thanks for that.
You're welcome.
I can't believe I have to know you forever!
Oh, you're fucking insane. And you're fucking winning!
Are you kidding me?
He's able to, like, really navigate the entire spectrum of the complicated feelings of this divorce. And I just think in movies where they treat him like not a human, he kind of like falters, because it's like, here's a stock one emotion character, like this is who you are thing, and it's kind of like it reads as false because it is. And when movies give him someone really complicated and deep, and honestly, like, not to compare this to, like, you know, his work as Rilo Ken, but like that's also complicated. Like, it's complicated family shit, and he's able to really navigate that again with, I think, his really like wondrous expressive face and eyes. So yeah, I too am choosing Marriage Story.
Well,
what about you, Gavin?
I'm going to build off that. I'm not choosing Marriage Story, don't worry. Even though I do think it's fantastic and absolutely worthy and should be a 5-star review, but I famously love tanking the poll. So I'm going to pick Patterson. I went back and forth truly with Hungry Hearts in this for a while. I really do love his performance in Hungry Hearts, and I think it has a lot of the same qualities you're talking about in Marriage Story, but also like a scarier place, like, because it's, literal life and death. And but I think Patterson also gives him a lot of the things you're talking about. That's this really deep character. But what's interesting is I think he has to play a lot of it inside, and a lot of it is you spend your entire movie with this character. I don't know if you really learn that much about him by the end of it, even though you're in his internal monologue. You're experiencing these beautiful poems he's writing, because that's his true passion in life. He drives a bus, but also he writes these poems. Side note, Jim Jarmusch was a huge fan of this poet. He asked him if he could use some of his poems or if he could write some more. So all of Adam Driver's poems are from an actual very famous poet. And then there's the scene where he meets the young girl who is also a poet, and she reads him a poem, and that's a poem by Jim Jarmusch. And I think that's a really cute, funny way of Jim Jarmusch being like, you're this amazing poet I've put on this pedestal, and my poetry is that of a young child.
I am but a baby.
Yeah, but I think it's this very beautiful, sad, but also optimistic tale of this man who wants, like, maybe actually doesn't want a little more in life. Maybe has what he wants. You know, the tragedies he experiences are, you know, a dog eating his poetry, which is horrible because it's not like he's going to be able to replicate those poems, but he also didn't want to do anything with them. You know, they were for him. They were for his peace of mind. I love that bit at the end where he meets this other man mysteriously who gives him a blank notebook. I think there's, you know, the whole movie itself is like a poem. And I think that's a really unique thing. Also, there's elements of himself that he gets to play. You mentioned, Brian, that there's that moment towards the beginning where you see his military photo, and then he like stops I suddenly can't think of his name. Chidi from The Good Place.
Sure. Yes.
Maybe committing a shooting, which turns out not to actually be a violent situation, but it's a facet of the character of Patterson that you don't really know until it happens. You know, you've been informed of, but you don't get that there is this internal, like, Yeah.
Veteran.
Veteran, yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I think it's a really beautiful film. I know it's not for you, Louis, and that's fine. But
yeah, I do think like I like the idea though that like art comes and goes. Like that to me is pretty powerful, and that also like not all art is gonna like change lives. Like
right.
it can change your life, and that's good enough.
And that's what I love, and that's what I think one of the other things I love about The Girlfriend is like, yeah, she's making those cupcakes, but like food is a very disposable art. It's meant to be consumed and eaten. She's making curtains and tablecloths, and like those things are meant for them to see. They're not for public consumption.
She's constantly making shit. I just realized you said that she's painting walls.
Yeah, she's she's finding ways to fill her day. She just doesn't know what her art is yet. She's still trying to figure it out.
If I came home one day and my partner, whoever they may be, was like, I painted the kitchen today, I'd be like, say what, bitch? Like, are we gonna ask? Like,
But Patterson's so chill.
Patterson is the chillest.
Did you ever hear of the old Italian poet called Petrarch? Is that it?
Petrarch. He perfected the sonnet.
I read online that one of his early books of poems was called The Secret Book, just like yours.
I didn't know that. You read that? You just happened upon it online.
And also that he wrote all his love poems to a beautiful girl called... Ta-da! Laura.
That's true.
So you have many things in common with other great and famous poets, you see?
I just think it's a really lovely film, and if you haven't seen it, it's worth watching. But as Louis said, it's not for everyone.
Excellent. Before we get into our fast forward, why don't we do our mixed reviews review?
My 1-star review is White Noise from 2022.
My 1-star review was The F Word, also known in the US as What If, from 2013.
My 1-star review was 2018's The Man Who Killed Don Quixote.
And my 5-star review is Marriage Story from 2019.
My 5-star review was Patterson from 2016.
My 5-star review was also 2019's Marriage Story. All right, let's get into our fast forward. Mr. Driver has a couple things in the bag.
Yeah, well, 2 days ago, Forbes announced that they think he accepted to play Mr. Fantastic in the Fantastic Four. So...
Right. This is all allegedly speculation. Who can never be sure.
This episode's not going to age well if he turns it down. But
I don't know if Adam wants to be in superhero movies anymore.
I don't know if I want Adam in superhero movies. Like, how much more? Like, how much more money do you need? You're going to get those Kylo Ren residuals till you die. Till you die.
What I wasn't talking about that specifically, but yeah, this is kind of like breaking news. It happened this week with this Mr. Fantastic stuff. I mean, I guess it's not like it's kind of like it's inspired casting, but do I think he wants to do that? No, this man fucking wants to be an artist and do freak shit. But
he has said his true passion is the stage. Like, he wants to be back on stage.
Right. He does have in post-production right now 2 movies, one called Ferrari, where it's a biopic about Enzo Ferrari, who founded... What if I was like Nissan? No.
Founded, the owner of Honda.
Yeah. So, he'll be starring in that. And then also something called Megalopolis.
That's the Francis Ford Coppola.
Well, there we go.
It's long gestating. How Brian? Do you know how long Francis Ford Coppola has been trying to make it? For
probably like 20 years, 20 plus years. He's been so focused on making his wine, and now all of a sudden he's finally making his passion project.
Well, he's using his wine to fund it.
Yes, yes, exactly.
Give me my wine.
Yeah, I mean, and so like again, we love to see it. He's still working with these auteurs.
I just hope it's a little more silence and not as much Man Who Killed Don Quixote. Megalopolis.
Right. We can never be sure. In the hands of good men doth good things come from Adam Driver. In the hands of crazy people, Adam Driver is like, lol, I like to be a freak. But Bryan, what do you want to see from Adam coming next?
Well, I mean, I'm very excited for both of these movies. I'm excited that he's working with these two filmmakers. Obviously, Coppola is one of the most influential filmmakers of all time. I mean, he hasn't had a win in like 30 years. So hopefully this is a major thumbs up from him. And then Michael Mann is actually one of my... he's not one of my favorite filmmakers, but I've been waiting for Michael Mann to kind of give another banger, because he hasn't done that in so long. Collateral was in my top 20 films of all time, and I don't think he'll ever be on that same level. But something that I would love to see Adam do is work with a female director. He hasn't worked with a female director before, and
say that.
I would love for him
lips.
to. I don't know why. Like, I'm shocked he hasn't worked with Greta Gerwig directing. I'm surprised that hasn't happened yet. Maybe it'd be a little too obvious, but you know,
he would have been perfect for Intense Ken.
Maybe maybe he has a cameo in Barbie that we just don't know.
Maybe
that would be great. But no, that's definitely something that I would love for him to do. I would love for him to work with a female director, and I would also love for him to do a straight up horror movie. He hasn't done that, and I would love for him to do that, and also work with Paul Thomas Anderson. That's like a top thing for me. I really want him to work with PTA.
He would be good.
Very good, interesting thoughts. I would not have thought about any of that, but I like it. I think, my God, he would be an excellent like slasher horror dude.
Mm-hmm.
I want him to be, I don't know, someone's dad in Little Women too. And it's funny, what I want is Adam to be in a musical that isn't Annette.
Mm-hmm.
Because he can sing. I don't think he's like the greatest singer, but like he can, do the thing, and he's a very physical actor, and I think that would be a really fun thing because also, again, like, I think he's not afraid to do it. He wants to do weirdo shit. So yeah, that's what I think. What about you, Gavin?
Yeah, The Music Man with Adam Driver.
What about a nice Fiddler remake starring Adam Driver as Tevye?
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with both those things. I would definitely female director on my list of things he has to do at some point, But
Kerry Kusama, just like, I want to do some weirdo shit.
Yeah,
there she is.
Yeah,
hello.
Absolutely. But yeah, no, I think that's I feel the same. I would love to see him on stage, obviously, and I know we say that in almost every episode, but like, that's his passion, and I would love to see that passion.
Come back to Broadway, babe. We miss you.
Please.
I think that wraps up Adam Driver. Bryan, thank you so much for coming on. Now is the chance for you to talk your shit, man. How can people find you? Where can they find you?
Yeah, first of all, thank you guys so much for having me. It's been such a blast getting to come on here and talk about my favorite working actor. I'm just so happy that I got to do this. So you guys could find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd at Bryan Sudfield. And I have a podcast of my own. It's called Film Fragments, where I bring on a guest to talk about their favorite films from an actor, director, and genre of their choice. It's available on all streaming platforms. We have a lot of great episodes coming, lots of great guests. And hopefully I have these two gents on at some point.
You never know. A little tip spot here and there.
We'd love to. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm glad you brought it. Yeah, it's always like when it's somebody young in their career, it's always like, oh, but he has such an interesting career that it's so worth talking about.
Yeah, and you just know that it's just going to continue to be varied and interesting and weird. So can't wait to see what's next for Mr. Adam Driver.
Absolutely. But if you want to contact us, you can always find us on Twitter at The Mixed Reviews.
We're also on Facebook. Just type in The Mixed Reviews.
If you want to write us a little letter, you can email us at reviewsmixed@gmail.com.
We're also on Instagram at _mixed_reviews.
And if you want to listen to our back catalog, we're on every major streaming podcast app. You can find us there. If you want to stop by one of them, leave us a 5-star rating, write us a little review. We'll read it on the show. And also tell your friends about the show. Be like, hey, beep, 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 beep. Hey, Bobby.
That's...
I was just listening to a show.
I was like, not Bobby.
Yeah, Bobby, baby. Yeah, just Do that. Let it be known.
Yeah, just go ahead and do that. And thank you guys for listening. We will see you in 2 weeks with a brand new episode. Keep an eye out for voting for May Madness. That is ongoing. Thank you so much, and have a good night. Bye.
Bye.
Sape una cosa da te,
Perché quando te guardo così, sì pure tu te siente a morire, non mon dice e non mon fai capire, ma perché?